So picture this. Your heart rate spikes. Your mind goes completely blank.
Yeah.
You are trapped in an elevator on a Monday morning.
Oh, no. I know exactly where this is going.
Right. Your coworker steps in, smiles, and asks you a 5-word question that somehow makes you forget your entire life. How was your weekend?
It is a truly universal moment of panic. I mean, you know your own life, obviously. But in that split second, trying to summarize it just feels impossible.
It is like my brain just unplugs. Well, welcome to today's deep dive. We are tackling a challenge that pretty much everyone faces, but we are looking at it through a very specific lens today.
We really are, and it's an important one.
Yeah, we are unpacking a comprehensive guide designed specifically for English language learners on how to navigate this exact interaction. Because, if answering how was your weekend is stressful in your native language, doing it in a second language can feel, well, terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. That anxiety makes perfect sense. As an English learner, you might understand every single word of the question perfectly. The vocabulary really isn't the problem here.
No, not at all.
The problem is that social interactions have this unwritten rhythm to them. Finding a natural way to answer while translating your thoughts while trying to sound polite, it is a massive cognitive load.
Right. And if you are an English learner listening to this right now, we have got you covered. This deep dive is tailored specifically for you.
Definitely. We are breaking down the strategies from our research using clear, everyday English.
Exactly. We want to show you that you do not need an advanced dictionary or, complicated grammar to have a warm, natural conversation. But before we get into the actual mechanics of how to answer, we have to talk about the fear itself.
The panic moment.
Yeah, why do we instantly panic? Do we think we are suddenly on trial for being boring?
That is actually a huge part of it. When we looked at the psychology behind this interaction in the guide, a really clear pattern emerged. We tend to view this casual question as a performance test.
A test? What?
Yeah, think about it. We scroll through social media all weekend, seeing people, hiking mountains or attending these glamorous parties. And suddenly, admitting that you just watched television for 6 hours feels like a failure.
It really does. You stand there thinking, is doing laundry an acceptable answer?
Exactly. But the reality is, the person asking usually does not care if you hiked a mountain or if you folded socks.
Right. They're just being friendly. They're not asking for a detailed hour-by-hour report of your Saturday.
Not at all. They are just asking for a tiny window into your life to establish a human connection before starting the work week.
Just a little check-in.
Right. But because learners often feel that intense pressure to perform, they usually fall into a very specific conversational trap.
The safe zone.
Yes. They retreat to the safest possible place. They give an answer that is grammatically flawless, but socially it's a complete dead end. They just say, it was good.
It was good. Okay, let's unpack this. Because on the surface, saying it was good technically answers the question.
It does.
So why is it such a trap?
Because it completely stops the flow of information. Think about the conversational mechanics for a second. If you just say it was good, what can the other person possibly say in return?
I mean, they really only have one option. They just reply with, oh, nice.
Exactly. Oh, nice.
And then comes the dreaded awkward silence.
The worst.
Both people are just staring at the elevator floor, watching the numbers light up, just wishing they were anywhere else. It feels terrible because the energy just died.
It creates a lot of friction. So to prevent that awkward silence, the guide we are looking at offers a foundational strategy.
And it is so simple, too.
It really is. It breaks this interaction down into a simple 3-step formula. Step 1, give a general feeling. Step 2, add one detail. And step 3, ask a question back.
Feeling, detail, question. I really like that structure.
It works so well.
Think of a conversation like a game of catch. Saying it was good is like catching the ball and just putting it in your pocket.
That is a great way to look at it.
Right. The other person is standing there with empty hands, and the game is just over. But this 3-step formula is the mechanism for how you pass the ball back to keep the rhythm going.
Passing the turn is exactly what conversation is about. You do not want to hold on to the heavy burden of the conversation all by yourself.
No, that is too much pressure.
So let's look at how this formula plays out in a real interaction. Step 1, the feeling. You say, it was pretty relaxing.
Okay, pretty relaxing.
Step 2, the detail. I stayed home and watched a movie. And then step 3, the question back. How about you?
It was pretty relaxing. I stayed home and watched a movie. How about you?
That flows beautifully.
Doesn't it?
It is short, It uses very basic vocabulary, but it gives the other person so much to work with. I mean, they can either answer your question and talk about themselves, or they can ask you what movie you watched. The ball is safely back in their hands.
Exactly. You have given them options, which is the hallmark of a good conversationalist. But to really master this, we need to dig into the psychology of those first two steps. Let's do it. Let's start with step one, the feeling.
Right. So a lot of English learners rely entirely on words like good, bad, or okay.
Which, they get the job done, but they don't really paint a picture.
Exactly. Our research suggests upgrading those basic feelings to something slightly more descriptive. So instead of just good, you might say relaxing, which implies a calm, peaceful vibe.
Or busy, which tells them you had a lot of tasks to handle.
Yes. Another great descriptor is fun, implying you were actively enjoying yourself. And there is a highly natural one that actually surprises a lot of learners.
Oh, what is that?
Quiet. In adult, casual English, saying it was a quiet weekend is not a complaint.
Oh, no, it's a blessing.
Right. It usually means nothing stressful happened and you got a rest. It is a positive luxury.
I love a quiet weekend.
Right.
But what happens when the weekend was genuinely awful?
Ah, the bad weekend.
Yeah, maybe your car broke down or you were sick.
Yeah.
You do not want to lie and say it was relaxing, but responding with it was a disaster feels incredibly heavy for a Monday morning coffee run.
It does. And that is where we get into the concept of managing the other person's emotional burden. If you say, my weekend was terrible, you are forcing your coworker to suddenly play the role of a therapist.
Which they probably don't want to do at 8 a.m.
Definitely not. To avoid that, native speakers rely heavily on what we call softeners. The material highly recommends using the phrase, a bit.
A bit.
Yeah. So instead of saying your weekend was terrible or a disaster, you soften the blow. You say, it was a bit stressful. Or, it was a bit tiring.
It was a bit stressful. I like that. It validates your negative experience without making the other person feel, uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Okay, so I have established a mood. I have tossed out a pretty relaxing or a bit busy. But that still leaves the listener hanging a bit, doesn't it? Like, they know my mood, but they don't have a concrete picture in their head.
Right. They need some context.
So how do we give them something to actually picture?
That brings us to step 2, the detail. And the secret here isn't the magnitude of what you did, it's the specificity.
Specificity. And this is where I want to push back on those social expectations we mentioned earlier, because I think a lot of us feel this immense pressure to sound fascinating.
Oh, constantly.
Like we need to tell a story about meeting a celebrity or trying extreme sports. But based on our research, it seems like an ordinary weekend is actually better for conversation.
It truly is, because relatability builds connection much faster than boasting. Most weekends are wonderfully normal, and normal is completely fine.
Staying home, doing laundry, cooking dinner.
Yes, these are universal experiences. The trick isn't what you did, it is adding what the guide calls a hook.
A hook, like casting a fishing line and giving them something to bite.
Exactly that. A hook is just one small, specific detail that leaves a conversational door slightly open. So if you just say, I stayed home, that is a closed door.
Right.
But if you add a hook and say, I stayed home and watched a new comedy show, you've just handed them a thread they can pull.
Because now I have a natural follow-up question. I can say, was it funny? What show? If you just say, I cooked, I am stuck. But if you say, I cooked pasta for my family, I can ask if they liked it. You are deliberately planting a detail that makes their job of responding incredibly easy.
It removes all the friction. You don't need a crazy story, just one extra piece of information.
Now, knowing what to say is great in theory, but I know a lot of learners struggle in the moment because their brain freezes trying to construct the perfect sentence.
The grammar panic.
Yeah, they try to plan the whole paragraph in their head before speaking.
And that leads to a major warning we found in the materials. Do not try to memorize long, perfectly written answers ahead of time.
I get the theory behind that, but honestly, if I am nervous speaking a second language, isn't having a script safer? I feel like if I don't have something memorized, I am going to panic.
It feels safer, but it actually increases your cognitive load. Think about what happens if you memorize a 3-sentence script, and in the moment, you forget the 4th word.
Oh, complete panic. The whole house of cards collapses.
Right, you just freeze. Instead, the strategy here is to use a Lego approach. Yeah, you don't build the whole house in advance. You just keep a few reliable building blocks in your pocket that you can snap together quickly.
Let's look at some of these verbal Legos. The first block is starting with, it was pretty, Like it was pretty relaxing or it was pretty busy.
It softens the statement right out of the gate.
Right. It sounds very natural.
Another extremely useful block is I mostly. You can snap that onto almost anything. I mostly stayed home or I mostly studied.
It tells the listener, hey, this is the main theme of my weekend.
Exactly. And then there is I ended up, which is great for showing what eventually happened. Like I ended up watching movies or I ended up working late.
My absolute favorite building block from this strategy is starting with nothing too exciting.
Oh, that is a great one.
Like nothing too exciting, I just cleaned my apartment. Psychologically, this does a huge favor for the person you are talking to.
How so?
Well, it instantly lowers the stakes. It tells them, hey, we are just having a normal low-pressure chat. It disarms them completely.
It really sets a very relaxed tone. And to snap onto these Legos, the guide provides some fantastic pocket words. These are highly native-sounding phrases that are just easy to remember and use.
Let's pull some of those pocket words out. The first one is caught up on sleep.
This is a phrase native speakers use constantly. It implies a narrative, It means you were running a deficit, like you were tired from the work week before the weekend even started.
So you used Saturday and Sunday to recover.
Exactly. You might say, I was exhausted, so I mostly caught up on sleep.
Another brilliant pocket phrase is ran errands. Now, this is one that often confuses learners because it doesn't translate neatly into every language.
It really doesn't.
So what exactly is an errand?
Errands are all those small, mundane tasks you have to leave your house to do. Going to the bank, picking up groceries, dropping off dry cleaning.
Okay, so if you say, I didn't do much, I just ran some errands, it perfectly captures a busy but completely normal weekend.
Yes. We also have the word highlight. This is a great shortcut to point out the best part of your weekend without telling a really long story.
Like the highlight was the food, or the highlight was seeing my dog.
Perfect. And finally, grab some food, which is just a casual, lower-pressure way to say you went to a restaurant.
I grabbed some food with a friend.
Yeah, these phrases do a lot of heavy lifting.
They really do.
Yeah.
But I want to ask about a common bad habit beginners fall into. Even if they know the vocabulary, they often speak very abruptly.
Yes, the staccato effect.
Right. They might say, my weekend was good. I went to the park. I ate food. And people understand them, obviously.
Of course.
But it sounds a little robotic, like they're reading a textbook. How do these Legos and pocket words actually fix that?
It is all about flow. When you speak in short, direct bursts, it feels disjointed. Think of those direct facts as heavy bricks. If you just stack bricks on top of each other, the wall is unstable and rough.
Okay, I am picturing a brick wall.
The Legos and pocket phrases act like the soft mortar between the bricks. They hold the facts together smoothly.
Oh, I see. So instead of the heavy brick, my weekend was good, you use the mortar, it was pretty good.
Exactly.
And instead of the rough fact, I ate food, you use the pocket phrase, I grabbed some food.
And suddenly the whole sentence transforms into, it was pretty good. I went to the park and grabbed some food with a friend.
Wow, it really does lose that robotic edge. It immediately sounds softer and much more natural to the ear.
The mortar holding the bricks together?
That makes total sense. But of course, we cannot talk about language learning without addressing the monster in the room. Grammar.
Ah, yes. The inevitable grammar reality check.
Because the building blocks are essential, but learners still panic about the grammar holding them together, specifically the past tense. Because if you were talking about the weekend on a Monday, well, the weekend is gone. It happened in the past.
It did. And this is where our research offers a lot of relief. The advice is very clear. Do not panic about complex grammar.
Please don't.
Yes, you have to use the past tense, but you do not need perfect mastery of every verb tense in the English language just to survive a Monday morning chat. You really only need a handful of common verbs.
So for regular verbs, the rule is pretty straightforward. You just add that ed sound to the end. Watch becomes watched. Clean becomes cleaned. Cook becomes cooked.
The real stress comes from irregular verbs, where the whole word changes. Go becomes went. See becomes saw. Eat becomes ate. Hang out becomes hung out.
And the advice for handling these irregular verbs is just brilliant. Do not try to memorize the entire dictionary of irregular verbs.
No, please don't.
Instead, start with an audit of your actual real life.
Exactly. Learning grammar for this specific interaction is like building a customized wardrobe for your closet. You shouldn't buy clothes you are never going to wear.
Right. Like, if you live in a tropical climate, you do not need to buy a heavy snow coat.
Exactly.
And if you spend most of your weekends at home on the couch, you do not need to stress over the past tense of complex action verbs. You just need to master stay at home or watch TV.
Yes, and if you love trying new restaurants, you only really need to learn 8 out. You just curate the verbs that fit your lifestyle.
Your English should fit your life. I love that.
Mm.
And part of fitting your life is avoiding the trap of direct translation, which, often leads to phrasing that sounds a bit strange to a native speaker's ear.
It really does. Let's run through a few of those common translation traps.
Okay.
For example, a learner might directly translate their native language and say, I saw a TV.
Right, which makes sense in some languages.
Mm.
But in English, the nuance is different. You see a movie at a movie theater, but when you are looking at a screen in your house, the natural phrase is, I watched TV, or I watched a show.
Here is another one. A direct translation might lead someone to say, I ate at a restaurant, which is grammatically fine, but it sounds incredibly formal for a casual weekend recap.
It does sound a bit stiff. A native speaker would almost always soften that by saying, I went out for dinner, or using our pocket phrase, I grabbed some food.
One of the most common translation hiccups involves the word play.
Oh, this one is great.
Yeah, a learner trying to explain that they spent time with their peers might say, I played with my friends.
Which gives a very funny mental image if you are a 30-year-old in an office.
It really does.
Because in English, children play with friends on a playground. Adults do not usually play together unless they are referring to a specific sport, like I played tennis.
Right.
If adults are just spending time together casually, the phrase is, I hung out with my friends.
And finally, when you are exhausted and you sleep heavily, translating directly might result in, I slept many.
I slept many.
Yeah, but the natural phrasing is either I slept a lot or relying on that excellent pocket phrase, I caught up on sleep.
Okay, so let's check our toolkit. We have the 3-step formula, the feeling, the detail, and the question.
We have our verbal Legos to prevent memorization panic, our pocket words, and our customized grammar wardrobe.
We are theoretically ready to talk, but there is one final crucial piece of the puzzle. We have to apply all of this to the messy real world.
Which means reading the room. Because context changes everything. Who is asking you the question dramatically changes how much you open that conversational window.
This is a huge point. Mastering English isn't just about flawless grammar. It's about social awareness, knowing the appropriate depth of your answer. Let's run through some scenarios to see how this shifts.
Sounds good.
Okay, scenario 1. You are at a language exchange, and your teacher asks, how was your weekend?
So, with a teacher, or perhaps a senior boss, you generally keep it simple, safe, and polite. You do not need to open the window very wide. You might just say, it was good, thank you. I mostly studied and spent time with family.
Very safe, very polite. Okay, scenario 2. Your coworker asks you on Monday morning while you are both waiting for the coffee machine.
This is where you want to be casual and natural, but concise. They're at work, so they don't want a 10-minute story. You pull out your Legos. You say, it was pretty relaxing, just watched some TV and ran some errands. How about you?
Friendly, but efficient. All right, scenario 3. You are at a party, or maybe a class, and you are making a brand new friend. They ask about your weekend.
Here, the goal is connection, so you really want to emphasize the hook in step 2.
Give them something to grab onto.
Exactly. You might say, it was fun. I tried a new cafe near my apartment. You are deliberately inviting them to step through the door and ask, ooh, what's the cafe called? Was the coffee good?
And finally, scenario 4. The tricky one.
Oh.
You had a genuinely awful weekend. You fought with your partner, you lost your wallet, you just feel terrible. A casual acquaintance asks how your weekend was. How do you handle that without lying, but, without oversharing?
This is where step 3, asking a question back, becomes your conversational shield.
A shield, I like that.
You use your softeners to be honest but light. You say, it was a bit stressful, honestly, so I mostly just rested. And then immediately you deploy the shield. Anyway, how about you?
It is brilliant. Anyway, how about you? The spotlight is instantly off of you. If you don't want to talk about it, you bounce the ball back into their hands so fast they don't even realize you changed the subject.
It completely protects your privacy while keeping the interaction friendly.
Knowing how to politely pass the turn back to the other person is one of the most powerful conversational skills you can develop in any language.
It really is.
Well, we have covered some seriously valuable ground today. Let's do a quick wrap-up of this ultimate conversational toolkit for English learners. First, lean on the 3-step formula. Give a feeling, add a specific detail with a hook, and ask a question back to keep the ball moving.
And remember to use your verbal Legos, like I mostly, or nothing too exciting, to lower the stakes and avoid the panic of trying to memorize perfect paragraphs.
Keep those pocket phrases ready. Caught up on sleep, ran errands, grabbed some food. Let them act as the mortar smoothing out your sentences. And finally, don't let grammar paralyze you. Just curate the past tense verbs that actually fit your real life.
If there is one overarching lesson here, it is that natural English does not require difficult English.
Absolutely not.
Often, simple, everyday phrasing is the best choice. Your goal in these moments is human connection, not grammatical perfection.
Connection, not perfection. That is a great mantra. As we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. We have spent this entire time analyzing the mechanics of how to answer this question in English. But I want you to think about your own native language.
Now that's interesting.
Think about your mother tongue. Do you subconsciously use this exact same three-step formula without even realizing it? Pay close attention this week to how people answer, "How was your weekend?" back home.
It is a fascinating experiment to try.
You might just discover that the unwritten rules of a good conversation are truly universal, no matter what language is coming out of your mouth. Good luck with your Monday mornings, everyone, and remember, keep the ball moving.